Hello there, this is Walter Capps with the Independence News. Reporting live from the Independence City Council meeting on 8/21/2023. Hello, sir. And so today we're going to be recording live. I can't stay for too long because I got to get the bus back to unkc at 7. So this one will be cut a little bit short, so I apologize in advance. So doing a roll check, we got Mr. Bryce Stewart, Mayor Rowland, Pierce, McCandless, and Steinmeier. And I think that's Perkins over there. Oh, Perkins and Hobart are over there. All right.
What's his last name? Well, he had to be. What's her name then? Yeah. Oh, yeah. He doesn't have any problems. He always pushed her. Really? You need to tune up. We got the same time. Honda. Probably needs to take down the tuned up. What?
Started up late on
He took the safety off. He did. My dad.
Good evening, and welcome to Monday, August 21st, 2023 City Council meeting. Our invocation will be provided by Shirley Murdoch, member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Please stand for the invocation, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear Father in heaven, we are gathered together in the capacity of a city council meeting. We ask thy blessings to be upon our mayor and each member of the city council and our city manager as they conduct the affairs of our city, that they might be blessed with guidance and insights to make the decisions that are beneficial for the citizens and yet are protective. We ask thee to bless our emergency personnel. We're grateful for their service. We ask thee to bless them with safety and discernment, and we appreciate them. We ask thee to bless the citizens of Independence, and we are grateful to be members of this wonderful city. And we ask blessings upon the teachers and the students of Independence School District that are starting a brand new school year under a different schedule. And we ask blessings upon them, that they'll adapt to it and that it'll be beneficial to them. Dear Father, we are concerned with our fellow Americans in Maui and in California that are experiencing such awful things and disaster and trauma. We ask thy blessings to be upon them and give thee deep appreciation that we have been spared such things. We love thee, give thee our devotion in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, such as life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their consent from the consent of the governed.
Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Spears.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
McCandless. Here. Steinmeier.
Here.
Hobart.
Here.
Mayor Rowland.
Here. Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Now we're going to the citizens' request portion. Mr. Capps, you are first, and then Deborah Baker. And I folks after that. You come up, Walter. I'll just tee in folks up to know who will be next.
All right.
So, Walter, you have 5 minutes. Please proceed.
All right. Thank you for letting me speak today. I am now staying at 5000 Oak Street at the unkc dorms in the Johnson Hall. I just started there. I start my first classes tomorrow. I'm going to be trying to major in political science and then hopefully go into law myself. I'm talking today because I want to thank you all for the great discussion you all had on the ethics reform last week. I am really glad that you guys are taking this seriously. A lot of people in the city feel the, well, from what I talk to, everybody just assumes, their government is corrupt because of how things are going with our national politics. And if I'd like to make one suggestion that I came up with while listening to y'all discuss, I remember y'all were discussing, whether something economically benefits, you all, and what the wording should be. I think the wording would be if it would be only themselves and their family members. This way y'all could still, do stuff that would, like, say, help the Truman Library, which is a public good, or do something that has to do with renting, because that wouldn't just help you or your families, that would help multiple people in the city. You guys don't want to end up tying your hands so that you can't do anything to help anybody. and help them out with their economic situations, because a lot of people are dealing with a hard economic situation themselves here in the city. So again, I'd like to thank you all for taking this seriously. Most people, wouldn't be willing to sit through a 2-hour discussion, and I also want to thank you all for allowing people to come up here and speak. Coming up here to speak has actually done a pretty good job at boosting my personal confidence and ability to talk with people. And, it doesn't cost you anything to come up here to speak. All you gotta do is just go up to the city clerk, ask for a citizen's request form. And I would encourage anybody here today or anybody who is watching this, in the future, if you have an issue or you see an issue in the city and you want it to get addressed, the best way to do it is fill out a form and then come up here and speak. I guess I'll just close out by saying, I really do appreciate the city and the city council. You guys are a lot more friendly than, I would have expected. And I won't be able to come up here as often as I have been because I'm going to be trying to get involved with the student government at the unkc, and their meetings are 6 p.m. on Mondays as well. So I'd like to thank you. This is my home, and I will always consider this to be my home. Thank you.
Walter, I've seen you improve your speaking skills tremendously, so I applaud you for your efforts, and you've always been a gentleman and very kind, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Next is Deborah Baker. Oh, and also we need to have a motion for accepting some non-residents. Would you have those? Could I have a motion for non-residents? Second. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. So Deborah will put you aside, and if you show up, if anyone knows Deborah, please let her know that she's got a slot to speak.
Mr. Mayor, I think we need to take a roll call vote for that.
Do we? Okay.
To suspend the rules.
Absolutely, that's a great point. Thank you, sir. Madam City Clerk, please forgive me. Please call the roll.
Peters,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.
McCandless. Yes. Steinmeier,
Yes.
Hobart,
Yes.
Rowland.
Yes. And the motion to suspend the rules to allow non-residents to speak passes. Ms. Huff, you come on out. Yeah, don't shy away from the microphone.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Colleen Huff, and I live at 717 South Willis Avenue. And I am speaking this evening against the resolution that's being proposed, resolution number 23773. This resolution states that council-sponsored items would need 3 members to move any action item to the regular meeting agenda. So I attended the town hall, the mayor's town hall on January 10th, where this was presented to the residents. And this was highly unpopular at the town hall. And I believe that every council member was elected to represent their residents that live in their area. And every district needs to be represented equally. The council works for the people, and the people need equal representation. There's been a couple of recent issues that have come up that had this resolution been in place, this would have never even made it to the agenda. One of those things was a citywide trash service. So had this resolution been in place, we would have no longer been able to choose our favorite trash service. And personally, our entire neighborhood uses Ted's trash service. So, and the other thing that was the same evening was discussed was prayer at the beginning of the council meetings, and that is definitely needed, especially in our city. So basically, I feel like this resolution would silence opposing dissent. And I don't think it's fair to the elected council members or the residents that live within their district. And as a taxpayer, since the council works for the people, all the voices need to be heard. And I know there's issues with the charter because during the last mayoral election, when I was the third person and was only beaten by 106 votes, and then the person that came in second decided that she was not going to campaign any longer, there was nothing in the charter to even address this. I had talked to attorneys, and I feel like there does need to be ethics reform, and those things that are not addressed clearly in the charter do need to be addressed. And as a matter of fact, during that town hall, I was publicly asked to be a part of the ethics committee, but no one ever reached out to me to make me a part of that. So, I mean, it is what it is, but I just feel like what was touted on the ethics reform was term limits on council members and caps on donations and just the council being able to serve the residents better. So I feel like this resolution actually is contrary to what was promised to the people. That's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hunt. Next is Lucy Young. And then after Lucy will be Marla Kinsey.
I almost feel like Jaws, the music to Jaws should play when I walk up to the podium. Lucy Young, 2320 Viking Drive, Independence, Missouri, 64057. A person commented on my political Facebook page that the Model Railroad Museum was not going to pay any rent. Or as she put it, so the city put in an emergency action for free rent in an out-of-town model train club. I just couldn't believe that was true. In early June, I asked a council member about the woman's comment. The second week of August, I was told, apparently it's free for the first year while they are building out. Then it ramps up over time. I submitted a records request because I wanted to see what was in that agreement. Exhibit 2 lists the various expenses and who is responsible for paying them. It appears that the Model Railroad Museum's lease rent is free for the first 5 years, as it is marked NA in Exhibit 2. Your museum's utilities are free for the first 5 years, including electric, natural gas, water, and sewer. The museum is allowed to keep all revenues from both ticket and gift store sales so they can build up their bank account to make future payments that are marked due in year 6. In year 6, the lease rent is marked TBD, to be discussed. The city is also providing security for the building. The city is purchasing security cameras and paying for 24-hour monitoring for the next 25 years. Someone from the park staff will be contacted to secure the building if an alarm goes off. Now, I don't dispute that the Model Railroad Museum will draw new visitors, but the language in that resolution states that the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Department seeks to identify funding to continue and expand services and programs for a financially sustainable organization as stated in the 2023 City of Independence Action Plan. To continue, does that mean that the Model Railroad Museum is being paid for or has already been included in that program? And just how financially sustainable is an organization that requires the city to help pay for the rent and utilities for 5 years? What is most frustrating to me is that this agreement was not added to the April 17th consent agenda. Bill 23-734, a resolution with the intent with the Missouri Model Railroad Museum, had only 2 pages. The cover sheet, which did not contain fiscal and impact information, and the resolution. The council approved that resolution on the 17th, The agreement was signed on the 21st. Was this complex agreement developed in just over 4 days? I honestly don't know if any of the council members knew about the details of this agreement, as it wasn't in the council agenda packet. This was not discussed at the council meeting, and it only had one reading. So did anybody see this agreement after the vote? I have another question. Is the Model Railroad Museum's funding tied to item 29 on tonight's consent agenda? That resolution's language states, city staff anticipates recommending additional funding be allocated to future fiscal years to support additional nonprofit entities seeking to grow tourism activities within the community. Does that word additional include the Model Rail Museum? I realize that these are tourism dollars, but the citizens deserve to know how the Model Railroad Museum is being subsidized now. Remember, there were no funding sources noted on the cover sheet. I watched your study session held last Monday night, and I have to tell you, it was like watching paint dry. But I thought the subject matter concerning the ethical conduct of the city was important. But what difference does it make if city staff are held to a different standard? I still wouldn't know about this agreement had it not been for that woman's Facebook comment. That agreement didn't exist according to the agenda. The city's charter is very clear, stated in section 5.2, number 4, no council member, board member, or employee shall grant a special consideration, treatment, or advantage to any citizen beyond that which is available to every other citizen. So go ahead, paint the council's ethical requirements with as broad a brush as you want, but if this type of subterfuge is allowed to continue, what's the point? Otherwise, transparency is just a buzzword. I emailed your administrative secretary, and all of you have a copy of the resolution, and then the cover sheet, and the agreement. Please read it. Go to the very end and see Exhibit 2 to know that I am telling the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And if I could ask, I realize there's lots of opinions in this room. Please refrain from applause, because this could become a sporting event. And I just ask you very kindly to be respectful of that. Marla Kempsey. Marla, you have 5 minutes. Please
Thank
proceed.
you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the audience. Thank you for coming. The mayor and the city council. My name is Marla Kinsey. My address is 25605 Southwest Drive Road, Blue Springs, Missouri. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I lived in Independence for 45 years, and my husband gave the city 30 years of his life to protect and serve its citizens as a policeman. I am the vice president of the Independence Loggers Retirees, and I want this city to be successful. I come before you this evening to speak in regards to non-ordinance action item 23-774. What a surprise. For your consideration, the rule change that's being addressed, one of them, 6.4, is in direct conflict with the rules you've outlined for a study session. And I quote the rules outlined in section 3.4 regarding study sessions. The council shall meet informally in study sessions once per month and may convene for additional study sessions at the call of the mayor or of any 4 members of the council to review forthcoming programs of the city, receive progress reports on current programs or projects, or receive other similar information from the city manager, provided that all discussions and conclusions thereon shall be informal. The council may vote at a study session only to direct staff to add an item to an upcoming regular council meeting agenda for formal action. The problems I have with this are, does this not mean that you're only reviewing programs coming up and receiving progress of programs in progress, and only adding an agenda item when you believe more formal structure is needed on that program or project? The agenda item tonight seeks to change the very structure of the study session without changing the procedures and rules of the study session. Additionally, the study session only meets once per month, and I have seen months where it does not meet at all. And that can be more often only at the request of the mayor or 4 members of the council. The proposed rule change and the current rules of study session will in effect impose a reduced ability for voices to be heard and increase the ability to control the narrative. Point number 2 for your consideration. That is in regards to section 6.4 and the main item. One member of the council is able to add an item to the study session agenda. At the study session, 3 members must vote to move that action item to a regular meeting agenda. All council requested items have to be submitted to the city manager or city clerk on or before 9 a.m. 2 Thursdays prior to the study session for city council meeting for which the agenda is being published. You know, for me, it's supposed to be about principles before personalities. That's my biggest concern. The principle shall still be the power of one person, whether in the minority or the majority, to place an item on the city council meeting agenda for consideration. Everyone was elected by the people before the people. This is the essence of democracy. Personal attacks and statements about this is the way it is done in Jefferson City cloud the basic principle. Point number 3 for consideration, and that's the rule change of 6.15. This rule change totally eliminates the ability to request an ordinance proposal. It's all marked out and is designed to only allow requests for legal opinions. Again, a change to control the narrative and ignore the principle. I believe that we should always place principles before personalities. I believe that we cannot change how someone acts, but we do have the power to change how we react. I am concerned that it is becoming more important to control the narrative than it is to value the principle for every citizen and council person in independence. Thank you.
Next up is Mr. McKee. Mr. McKee, you have 5 minutes, please.
I'm Richard McKee, 3804 Hayden Drive. Good evening, citizens, council members, and our mayor. We elect council members to represent us, the citizens, and mostly they do a good job. This resolution to expect 3 members to approve a resolution is so undemocratic. It stifles free speech. Why doesn't this body debate any resolution? That is an open and free speech city. Let's not stifle different opinions. Let us embrace open debates over policy. Ordinance 23774 should be rejected.
Thank you, Mr. McKee. Mr. Love? And Mr. Love, you have 5 minutes.
Kenneth Loves, 16408 East George Franklin Drive, Independence. I'm here tonight to speak about the homeless. But before that, thank everybody for being here. On August 15th, I contacted 4 councilmen. Since I cannot say the councilman that I contacted, I'll state it like this. The first councilman that I called answered the phone, and I explained a new homeless camp has been set up at 23rd and Lee Summit Road. Within 15 minutes, this problem was addressed, and this person was moving on. Later on that afternoon, same day, August 15th, I contacted 3 other council people through their messages on their phone. One, I had not heard from. Another one stated that he was out of town, but he would refer to IPD. A couple days later, I asked this council person what is taking place. He said nothing, the police cannot make contact. I referred, the police are not working hard enough because the homeless people that are there are out before 4 a.m. in the morning. The next council person that I contacted, same pictures, same information, wanted to know who I was. My answer to that councilman was, I'm a resident of Independence. We have a homeless problem, and nothing is being done. We have a program that's been started, picking up trash. But as they go down the road picking up trash, they're leaving these yellow bags for days and days and days till somebody goes and picks them up. Not only that, talk about trash from the homeless, let's talk about $4,000 that this city has spent on one particular park to clean up. That kind of money should not be spent. It's time we use our resources. But again, we cannot use our resources due to the fact Independence Police Department has no place to house prisoners or anybody going to jail. I wonder why. Where do we take our prisoners to? Can anybody answer that? Where we take our prisoners to?
Warrensburg.
How about some Johnson County stuff? But it's my understanding Johnson County has started remodeling. So in other words, now not only of our council kicking the can down the road, I feel our police department is kicking the can down the road by not addressing the homeless, not addressing the ordinances that we have on books. Yeah, they'll show up for panhandlers and say you gotta go. As soon as they leave, panhandlers are right back there. It's time, and I'm sorry to say this, it is time to stop kicking this can down the road, giving these people chance after chance after chance after chance. It's time we either take them or we move them. It's simple as that. But I'm gonna cut my time short on that because I have an emergency to go to. So real quick, I would stay, but real quick, please. I just want to let you know that I'm against the 39th Street project. The reason I'm against it is due to the fact this is an out-of-state company coming in to invest to build an apartment complex. That apartment complex is an investor from California, so that money won't stay here. Not only that, me and a person had a meeting earlier this year, said as a landlord, I would not like what he's got coming up this year. But it's all of a sudden we're getting apartments after apartments after apartments. But I'm a small type investor and you don't want me invested, there's a big problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Mr. Sorensen, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to speak tonight. My name is Bob Sorensen. I live at 800 Southwest Powell Drive, Oak Grove, Missouri. I am president of the Independence Loggers Retiree Group. I am here today to address the resolution amending the council rules of procedure. I am not sure why this resolution is on the agenda and who on the council placed it on the agenda, since there is no name attached. This question was asked at the last council meeting, but no one would take responsibility for placing this on the agenda. I thought that the change to 6.4 of the rules had already been discussed at a prior council meeting 3 months ago, and also at a town hall meeting at the Truman Memorial Building that was called by the mayor. I was present at both of those meetings, and I, as well as many other individuals, expressed their opposition to the changes that again are being proposed in this resolution. I am not saying there was nobody in favor of the changes, but it was only a couple, and they were definitely in the minority. I thought that the issue was dead, but apparently I was wrong. Both rule changes that are being proposed are wrong and should be voted down 7-0. Each of you are elected by voters to represent them on the council. Each of you should have the ability to place something on the agenda, to have it discussed by all of you, as well as concerned citizens and organizations. No real change should ever be considered that would change this right. A real change that can silence the minority on the council, as well as citizens, is a violation of the First Amendment. The current rule as it is written allows for all council members and citizens to have equal input at council meetings. At your last council meeting on August 7th, there was an ordinance amending Chapter 1, Article 16 of the Board of Ethics. This was on the agenda with a councilperson's name attached. There were 2 former city councilpersons who signed up to speak on this ordinance. Both spoke as to how this ordinance would be in violation of the mayor and council First Amendment rights. Both gave good presentations. When the ordinance came up to be read, the councilperson who placed it on the agenda made a motion to remove the ordinance based on the presentation of the speakers. A motion was made to remove the ordinance by 7-0 vote. This is a perfect example of how the current rules do work. I have in the past, and could give many examples again, on how the rule changes could have impacted the retirees that I represent over the past 5 years. It is because of the current rule that has allowed an individual council member to place an item on the agenda that had a direct impact on the retirees. This made it possible for discussion and input from our group as well as citizens. As a result, the council was able to vote on these issues, and in every case, which there has been many, the votes were 7-0. This is proof that the current rule works, and the proposed change would totally have made all of this impossible. Examples: defunding post-65 health insurance, outsourcing of benefits to a company named New Synergy, fees to avoid fixed interest accounts, open enrollment, incorrect information, etc. Just as recently as last year, which I'm sure each of you remember, open enrollment for health insurance was pushed back as far as it could be to address issues. A council member made a motion, and it was passed 7-0 to form a special committee to address issues with the Staywell Health Care Plan. This would probably not have been possible under the proposed new rules. We want to require things to go to a study session. Are they required to be attended by the mayor and council? Is there even a requirement to have study sessions? Are you even allowed to vote at a study session? Are citizens or organizations allowed to speak at study sessions? I believe the answer to all these questions are no. Your rule change states it requires a vote of 3 members at a study session to have an item placed on the agenda. I was at the last study session when this was being discussed by all of you. You agreed that you could not take a vote. So you wanted that part removed and to say something like it would take 3 members to agree to put an item on the agenda. I would say to you that that is a vote. To conclude, I believe I understand why this is being proposed. I believe there are people that want other items on the agenda that are supported by the majority. I would say this is totally wrong. I again would ask each of you to vote no on this resolution and protect each and every one of your rights as an elected individual to have your voice heard. Also protect the citizen and organization's rights so that their voices can be heard. Study sessions are not required and people are not allowed to speak. Thank you for allowing me to talk. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I waive. I follow laws.
You say
I
that
can't.
you move on. Very good. Thank you, Terry. Mr. Huff?
Good evening, City Council members, and thanks for everybody taking time out of their evening to be here. Michael Huff, 16501 East George Franklin Drive, Independence, Missouri. I'm just another resident, another voice, hoping to advocate and perspective some of the problems we have. Some of you might remember I was up in that chair once and faced the challenges that come with it, but I learned, and something that I truly believe is the duty to our community doesn't just end because the title term ends. When I get a chance to serve, I got a chance to serve with a privilege. It's not prestige or power, but about the opportunity to make a difference in the community in which I was born, raised, worked here my whole life, and was elected official. I served during the pandemic, served at Fight for Our Families, school children, and our business community during tough times. This was very hard times for everybody, just not a few. Our local businesses, from mom and pop shops to bigger outlets, all took a hit. We had to rally behind it, not just because it's a slogan, but it's because its success is our city's success. I've listened to formal officials come here time and again, only offering criticism without presenting solutions. When I sit up there, I complain about the same thing. Everybody comes up with a problem, but no one has any solutions. We need to understand that offering criticism does not bring change. We need actual ideas now more than ever. That's the essence of public service. And it's precisely what our city deserves for all of us, and we continue to serve one another. I took the initiative that I firmly believe underlies our commitment to community safety. My recent action was to raise private funds for partnership with local businesses, a long-standing business, Cable Dahmer Auto Group. The sole purpose was to bolster our strength of IPD by acquiring a new member for the K-9. Now, why is this action so important? Well, these days, this is a modern policing, and the skills, it's unimaginable. They trap, apprehend suspects, narcotics, explosives, aid and rescues. It's an ever-changing world for the police daily. And this is the best resource that we can get, and it's necessary. And so I fought for the time when I was on council for public safety. It was my number one thing, was public safety, and all the surveys pointed to, I think every survey we ever had up there was public safety is number one. Moreover, this partnership between the private citizens, businesses, and the police department sends a powerful message. Our community care and public safety is important. In a time when it is easy to point fingers and lay blame, it's initiatives like these that build bridges. By working with Cable Dahmer Group and others, we are showing that public safety is not solely the duty of the police and the government, it's a shared responsibility. It's also worth noting that our local business community doesn't stop here. It showcases the investment and the well-being of our community they serve and profit from. Cable Dahmer Auto Group involved underlies that they're just not here for business, they're part of our community. Last, the proactive efforts to raise K-9 created a ripple effect. Foster spirit, community involvement encourages others to participate in the initiative. Since this time, I've got all kinds of phone calls for, got a $5,000 check for another dog from a citizen, that doesn't even live here, and I've had numerous calls for other people that want to donate to get another dog. I think we're still short one or needing one more. But it reinforces the trust, this initiative, and most importantly, it reinforces the trust between IPD and the community. But don't be confused. Don't be confused on the commitment to safety and veteran community. It's a testament to what we can achieve and when we can come together with shared goals. I genuinely believe that our collective efforts will go a long way to ensure our community remains a safe haven for all of us. Being here tonight, speaking about what I'm seeing, I want to urge every one of us, especially my colleagues from past and present terms, to remember why we started this journey. It's not about pointing fingers or holding grudges. It's about stepping up, sharing our insights, and working together for folks who trust us to do the right thing, even after we leave the office. So the personal attack should be set aside. Let's roll up our sleeves and get to work, because serving the community, that's the never-ending privilege and honor. In my conclusion, over this last 16 months, I've been watching, like many of you. And honestly, I've been waiting for some real action directed towards the real problems of the city it faces. But it seems like this council has more focus on rules and process issues than getting things done. I don't agree with the direction, especially with the agenda rule change being proposed tonight. It's more evidence that the real business of our city is being ignored. Centralizing power to one or two. I apologize. That's fine. Thank you.
talk to you face to face. I am speaking on the ordinance or resolution, non-ordinance item 2374, and I'm speaking out against it. Someone mentioned earlier that we had a town hall on this item, and it was wildly unpopular. We had a very long meeting. We talked it to death. It was really tried to sell it, and people just weren't buying it for good reason. This is just a procedural way to, it's tyranny of bureaucracy, really is what it is. It's a way to shut out opposition on the council. You change the rules and you want more structure and you think it makes it more efficient. It doesn't really do any of those things. Really, the way things are right now is flexible enough that I can go to my councilman and, they can put an item on the agenda. They can respond flexibly to, things as they develop. I really think that this rule change would actually hamper that process. It would hamper our ability to directly communicate with our council people and for our council people to act on our behalf effectively on the council. And what it will do, based on the current composition of the council, is it will create a supermajority that will shut out the minority voices. That might not be your intention, but that is what it will do, effectively. And I don't think that's acceptable. I don't think that anybody in this room really wants that. I know the people of Independence don't want that. They told you so. They told you they don't want that. And I'm shocked that we're back here discussing it again. But I'm here to say we don't want this. And if this is brought up again, we'll be back to say we don't want it again as many times as it takes. This rule change, really, it's one thing to be in favor of speech that you agree with. It's another thing entirely to defend the speech that you don't agree with. And that goes for everybody in this room. So I think that we really just need to stop bringing this up, vote it down, and support the speech and the ability to act of the people that you disagree with on this council. And thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Did Deborah Baker toast, I believe? I just want to give her the opportunity if she in fact came in. I wanted to make sure she had the opportunity to speak. Deborah Baker? Okay. Very good. And thank you all. This brings us to the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve the reports and recommendations of the city manager.
Okay, there's a motion. We have a second?
Second.
We've got a second. We have a motion and a second to accept the council agenda items. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Please proceed.
I'd like to pull item number 2, reports and recommendations of the city manager. I'd like to pull item number 26 and item number 27.
Hold on 1 second, please, so I can follow along, please. Item number 26.
Number 2, item number 26, and item number 27.
Okay. Yes, please.
Number 29 for me, please.
Okay. Councilmember Stewart asked for number 26 to be pulled. Councilmember Stewart also asked for 27 to be pulled.
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Hobart, who asked for number 29 to be pulled. And Councilmember McCandless, you asked for 23-771 to be pulled. Did I miss anyone, or did anybody else have any other interest? Okay, we will make a motion to, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on any of these items? If not, approve the consent agenda items that were not pulled, and then we can talk about those items that were pulled. With that, please call the roll for the consent agenda, please.
Spears.
Yes.
Kirby.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
McCandless. Yes. Steinmeier.
Yes.
Hobart.
Yes.
Mayor
Yes. And the consent agenda without the items pulled was approved 7-0. Councilmember Stewart, you pulled item number 2. You have the floor.
I'll make a motion to approve item number 2.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilmember. You read my mind.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second to approve that. Councilmember, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have some questions for the city manager.
Please proceed.
The first is a question we get every time we buy cars from an out-of-state dealership or not an independence. Can you just give a brief synopsis of why that occurs? We don't buy something here locally.
Yeah, I'd be happy to, and thank you for the question. Probably the best analogy I can offer in light of many of our retirees being here tonight, if they were to try to go find insurance on as individuals, that's much different than what we're able to do as a city by having the purchasing power of so many individuals.